but it feels like home. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say I'm not alive. I don't care, so call me crazy. We can live in a world that we design. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me away. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it could take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. There's a house we can build, every room inside is filled with things from far away. Special things I compile, each one there to make you smile on a rainy day. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say we've lost our minds. I don't care if they call us crazy. Run away to a world that we desire.
Every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make.
However big, however small, let me be part of it all. Share your dreams with me. You may be right, you may be wrong, but say that you'll bring me along to the world you see, to the world I close my eyes to see. I close my eyes to see.
Night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head.
A million dreams are keeping me
A million dreams, a million dreams. The book of life, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. For the world we're gonna make.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for coming this morning. So when I joined Rotary in 1986, there was a dream, and that dream was to end polio. And we are now this close with 2 countries left on this World Polio Day. Big dreams. The foundation has done so much more than just polio. It has literally changed the lives of millions of people around the world. So today at our foundation seminar, I just want to thank you for being here. Thank you for your generosity and your continued generosity as we continue to make a difference as Rotarians, both in our community and around the world. I'd like to introduce Joe Scheimer, our district foundation chair, to talk a little more about the foundation and to introduce the guests we have today. It's going to be a great program, and I know that you're going to learn a lot about the foundation and be encouraged about how much we're changing the world through the Rotary Foundation. Joe.
Good morning, everyone, on this World Polio Day. I am Joe Scheimer, the District 5180 Foundation Chair, and I will be your host today. We are privileged to have three distinguished speakers today that I will introduce soon. And also in our audience from the Rotary Club of Grass Valley in District 5190, our Zone 27 Endowment Major Gifts Advisor, Wynn Spiller. Welcome, everyone. A reminder, if you have a question during this seminar, just use the chat tab. And now let's turn it over to Ken, our first speaker from the Rotary Club of Boise, Idaho, our Regional Rotary Foundation Coordinator, Ken Howell. Ken was president of his Rotary Club in 2008-9 and selected as district governor for District 5400 for 2015-16. Ken has served in many positions in the district and zone level. He was the Zone Institute Service Coordinator in 2016, the training chair in 2017 for the Houston Zone Institute, chair of the host committee for the 2018 Zone Institute in Boise, Idaho, and co-chair of the Special Sessions Division of the 2019 Zone Institute in Denver, the one I ended up missing. He became our Regional Rotary Foundation Coordinator on 1 July 2020. Ken is a senior partner in the law firm of Hawley, Troxell, Ennis & Hawley, LLP in Boise, Idaho, where he lives with his wife, Bernadine Marconi. Please join me in welcoming Ken Howell.
Thank you, Joe and Governor Brent. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you this morning. And we're going to start off our presentation with an overview of the foundation. We are obviously going to be spending a fair amount of time today talking about Polio Plus, but Polio Plus is only one of many of the programs that the Rotary Foundation is working on. And Polio Plus is the major, but only one of a number of other initiatives we are doing through the foundation. So let's talk a little bit about the Rotary Foundation and how it is more than just Polio Plus. So we're going to start off with a few things that you may not fully know or appreciate about the Rotary Foundation. The first is that the Rotary Foundation has substantial net assets of about $1.2 billion. And since we're going to be welcoming our first female president, and who happens to be Canadian, we want to make sure we're talking about US dollars. The next issue is how we compare to some of the other service organizations. Kiwanis have net assets of about 32 million. And Lions Foundation net assets of about 283 million. So you can see from just the net assets we have in our foundation, we have the capacity to do a great deal of work around the world simply by virtue of the size of our foundation. And the size of our foundation is because of the contributions that you Rotarians make directly to the foundation and that you encourage others to give as well. But even though we're pretty large at 1.2 billion by size of net assets, we'd only rank about 59th among the charitable foundations in the world. And by comparison, here's what they look like. Number one is the Inga Foundation in the Netherlands at 59 billion. And then, of course, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which are our great partners in eradication of polio. Their foundation currently is at about $48 billion in net assets. And then the Wellcome Trust at 40 billion and the Howard Hughes Medical Institute at 23 billion. So this just gives you an idea of what the overall magnitude of charitable foundations are in the world and kind of how we stack up with their net assets. So historically, our Rotary Foundation from its start in 1917 focused on supporting crippled children, which became the Easter Seals Foundation. We've supported World Peace and Understanding for many years, starting off with an essay contest in Austria for children to write essays on how to enhance world peace and understanding. We provided substantial war relief and assistance during World War II, and we've worked with youth since almost our beginning. Boys Week was something the Rotary Foundation and Rotarians supported for many, many years, which was a program to develop good citizens by countering juvenile delinquency, truancy, and poor physical health. And lest you think that we were just focused on young boys, this also was a program that supported girls as early as 1924. So Rotary changed the name of this program to Youth Week in 1934 and became Boys and Girls Week in 1936. So let's talk about the structure of the foundation. It is a 501c3 tax-exempt organization managed by a 16-member board of trustees. One of our trustees, Brenda Cressy, will be joining us this morning if she's not already back on the line. It's those trustees serve staggered 4-year terms appointed by the RI president with approval from the RI board of directors. And the foundation funds programs, this is kind of our standard elevator pitch for the Rotary Foundation, programs that do good in the world: Polio Plus, humanitarian grants, educational programs, and others. So let's talk about the internal structure of the foundation a little bit. First, we receive contributions from at least 3 different sources. We receive contributions from Rotarians and others. Those are divided to the annual fund, to the endowment fund, or the permanent fund we used to call it, of the foundation, and to the Polio Plus fund. Now, as the name implies, the annual fund is dispersed annually into the share system, as are the spendable earnings from the endowment. The principal, or the corpus of the endowment, is preserved forever and will only continue to grow and throw off earnings that we can then use. The Polio Plus fund is a little different. It is sort of like an annual fund. It is an annual fund, but it is restricted to only being spent on Polio Plus. And that's why we make an emphasis every year on giving both to the annual fund and to Polio Plus, because they really are 2 separate funds, and polio can only be used for the Polio Plus program, where the annual fund goes into the share system. Now, if you haven't taken a Rotary Foundation program before and understand how it works, we spend the money from the annual fund and the endowment fund through what we call the share system. And here's how the share system and annual program funds work. First, we collect funds from all of the clubs, and let's say we've got 6 clubs in our hypothetical district, and in the year 2016-17, they make contributions to the annual fund through the normal club operations and through what we want to have every Rotarian give something to the foundation every year. Those funds are gathered up and invested over 3 years' time. During that 3 years, the earnings from those funds are used to pay the costs, administrative costs, of running the foundation. That's how we keep our overhead in the foundation very low. At the end of that 3-year period of time, 100% of the principal, 100% that was contributed to annual funds, are disbursed through the share program. And share simply means half of it goes into the Rotary Foundation World Fund and half goes into the district designated funds. And the funds that are contributed by a district, half of those funds are returned to the district in 3 years in the form of district designated funds. The World Fund funds things like vocational training teams and matching of global grants, and funds the Rotary Centers for International Studies for Peace. And from the district designated funds, your district will decide how much of them to spend on district block grants or local grants. They can use up to 50% of them. And the rest of them generally go into matching using district funds, district DDF, district designated funds, to match clubs' global projects. And then those funds are in turn matched by the World Fund. Now, one thing that's important to realize about this system as all this comes together is that polio, every year, all of the contributions to polio are spent on Polio Plus. So every year we essentially start from zero. That's also the same with the annual fund. We essentially always start from zero every year, but we know we've got 3 years of money in the bank, as it were, and we can predict how much we're going to get out of the annual fund. That's why it's critically important that we make contributions every Rotarian every year to the annual fund and to the Polio Plus fund, is those funds are fully used every year. So it's important that if we don't, our work to eradicate polio stops. And if we think that Rotarians are becoming fatigued because we ask them every year to make funds, well, we don't have to do this out of our own pocket, and we can take the opportunity using events like World Polio Day to ask our community friends and partners to contribute to Polio Plus. Remember that the foundation is the engine that drives everything we do in our Rotarian charitable activities, internationally, and locally, and they're funded by some combination of the World Fund and district designated funds. The local projects, of course, are funded through the local block grants. The Rotary Peace Centers are funded mainly by private benefactors, major donors, and gifts, all through the foundation, but they're made directly to support the Rotary Peace Centers, and without that support, we would not be able to make that program work. So I want personally, on behalf of Rotary International Foundation and my district, District 5400, to thank you and the work that District 5130 is doing. And I'm very pleased that you asked me to be here this morning and speak on the foundation. Others are going to speak more directly to Polio Plus, but hopefully this gives you an overview of how it all fits together. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Thanks for joining us today. And now a short inspirational video.
This is a story of historic progress, a story that doesn't exist without you. Our unifying effort in 3 decades of action demonstrates our commitment and endurance. And our progress thus far shows that a polio-free world is achievable. Individuals, clubs, partners, and governments share a collective vision to improve the health of every single child. We've eliminated polio in some of the most difficult places, overcoming obstacles and navigating complex issues. Our successes prove that polio will be eradicated, and while ending a global disease is not easy, as Rotary, we don't give up. We'll continue our fight until each child is protected. This isn't possible without you. So stay involved, keep pushing forward, engage your clubs and communities. Start a social media conversation and increase visibility on the importance of this global effort. Hold events and fundraisers on World Polio Day and throughout the year. Advocate to governments about the importance of supporting polio eradication. Make a contribution and invest in one of the largest health initiatives ever. Be a character in our story. Be the solution to our challenge. It's because of each and every one of you that we will improve our future by making polio a disease of the past. Eradication is possible, so let's keep our promise.
Now I'd like to introduce from the Rotary Club of Sebastopol, California, and our End Polio Now Zone Coordinator, Bob Rogers. Bob joined Rotary in 2007, shortly after having moved into town. It wasn't long thereafter, as a polio survivor, he joined District 5130's Polio Plus Committee and was soon giving talks to the Rotary clubs about polio. He earned his club's Rookie Rotarian of the Year award in his first year and Rotarian of the Year award a few years later. Bob served as president in 2013-14, then as assistant governor for 2 years, and as district governor in 2017-18. While district governor, he and 13 other riders created a 6-day, 350-mile bike ride called Pedal for Polio and raised $140,000 in the process. Rotary clubs along the route supported the riders with potlucks and beds, and in the process cultivated many new long-term friendships. And like good house guests, Bob and his riders supplied the beer and wine to go along with the dinners. Bob's Rotary travels have taken him on multiple trips to Mexico, to Uganda for a global grant project, to India for a Rotary friendship exchange, and recently for an NID in New Delhi. I'm so jealous of that last one. This year, he is serving as chair of District 5130's Polio Plus Committee and as the End Polio Now Zone Coordinator for Zone 27. Bob is a member of the Paul Harris Society, and with his wife Peggy are major donors and members of the Bequest Society. Bob retired as an airline pilot from US Airways in 2002 and now claims his second career is Rotary. Please join me in welcoming my fellow aviator, Bob Rogers.
Thank you, Joe. The polio virus, it afflicts mostly children, attacking the motor neurons that control the muscles in the body, so that if the leg muscles are attacked, the child can't walk. If the diaphragm muscles are attacked, the child can't breathe on their own without the assistance of a machine like an iron lung or today a ventilator. And if there's no infrastructure, health infrastructure, there's no iron lung or anything like that in a developing country, that child just dies. Yet others like myself, you have a brief encounter with the virus and escape relatively unscathed. Sorry about that. When I was 5 years old, my dad took the family to a Lions Club picnic, and midway through the picnic, they told me they found me sitting under the picnic table, crying and complaining of my legs aching. So they took me home, put me to bed. And the next morning, when I couldn't get out of bed, my mom called a doctor. And she came and examined me, and then they left my bedroom and went into the living room, and I could hear them talking, but I couldn't understand what they were saying. Then all of a sudden, my mom lets out this huge wail, and then she starts sobbing. I didn't know what was going on, except that I was scared to death. They came back into the bedroom and packed me up and took me to Children's Hospital in San Francisco, which is where we were living at the time. You know, being only 5, I don't remember too much of my stay, but a few things stuck in my mind. They had me in a crib that was by a window. I think we were up on the 3rd floor, and Mom would park, when she came to visit, she would park the car underneath that window so I could at least lean out and see my brother and sister and wave at them. They wouldn't let them come up to the ward because they didn't know how it was contracted, and of course they did know that afflicted mostly children. They treated me with a therapy called Sister Kenny Hot Packs method. That's where they wrapped my legs with steaming hot wet woolen blankets, as hot as I could stand them. And then they passively exercised my legs to their max range of motion. I was in the hospital for about 2 weeks before returning home. On checkout day, Mom's wheeling me to the car in the wheelchair, hospital protocol. And the 5-year-old in me defiantly says, "I don't need a wheelchair, I can walk to the car." Mom reluctantly agrees. And I try to stand, and as soon as I let go of the armrests on the wheelchair, I fall to the sidewalk like a sack of potatoes. Again, my mom burst into tears. And again, I'll never forget that as long as I live. But you know, as time went on, I got older, my brush with the polio virus sort of faded into the background. Not something I thought of except maybe if I had to fill out a medical form for one reason or another. It was over, it was in my past. Most of my adult life, I'd been a cyclist, a skier, a runner. I didn't feel handicapped or restricted in any way. So now let's fast forward to a few years after my retiring, and my wife Peggy and I moved to Sebastopol, California, where after a couple of months, one of my new neighbors starts inviting me to his Rotary Club meetings. At first I resisted, this idea of a weekly obligation, but then he kept asking. And I thought, well, it might be a good way to meet people in town, not being new to the community. I found myself liking the club. I was soon being given Rotary information by a couple of past presidents who outlined my financial and attendance obligations, among other things. And then near the end of their presentation, almost as an afterthought, one of them said, and we're eliminating polio in the world. What? I said, I thought it was licked. He said, yeah, here in the US, but not the rest of the world. I couldn't believe that I, who had polio, did not know that. Well, if I had any resistance about those meetings, it sort of faded, and I joined the club. And I really did enjoy the club, but I wasn't initially aware of any special efforts by the club as concerns polio. And in another couple of months, I sort of forgot about it again. Later that first year, I'm attending my first district training assembly, and I'm walking down a path between two buildings for a breakout session. And I hear a voice behind me. So how old were you when you had polio? What? I said, swinging around. How do you know I had polio? And he says, I could tell by the way you're walking and swinging your leg. What's he talking about? I thought I walked normal. But I couldn't deny his observation, could I? Because he's right. I did have polio. So he introduced himself as Larry Myers, who was our district Polio Plus chair at the time, and himself a polio survivor. So we talked for a few minutes, and then we parted ways going to different breakout sessions. But I saw him at the end of the day, and he asked me if I would join his committee. And I said, sure, not realizing what that meant. I found out a few months later when he asked me to fill in for him on a polio talk that he was supposed to give, had a conflict in his schedule. So I said yes and started doing prep for the talk. And that's when I realized the scope of the fight against this disease. So I gave the talk, and I was nervous, but it went pretty well. And the main thing was that was it. I was hooked. I found my passion in Rotary and became active in everything related to Polio Plus, like giving talks like I am right now, to doing that 6-day marathon bike ride that Joe mentioned as a fundraiser. Reflecting back on my life, having contracted polio at the age of 5, and then recovering completely and forgetting about it, only to accidentally rediscover my brush with polio by joining Rotary many years later. Yeah, it makes me think that sometimes things happen in life that are beyond our comprehension. And I think that somehow this is one of those times. I was put here for a reason. And that reason is now this final push against polio. You all know the tremendous progress we've made since we started this battle in 1988, when there were 350,000 children a year, almost 1,000 per day, contracting polio in the world. And then we got those numbers all the way down to 33 cases in 2018. Phenomenal. However, last year, 2019, was a little disappointing because those numbers went from 33, increased up to 176 cases. And this year, we're on track to perhaps even surpass that number with 132 cases as of 3 days ago. Clearly, there's a huge concern about this increase in the numbers due to a number of factors, lack of access in some areas because of conflict. And although the governments and a majority of the religious leaders in Pakistan and Afghanistan are supporting us, there are still political and religious factions out there opposed to vaccines. Some of them even think that we're trying to sterilize their children with these drops. In addition, in Afghanistan, the Taliban forbid any vaccinations taking place where they are in control. And then COVID-19 strikes. And on March 23rd, we were forced to pause immunizations altogether. We've hit huge roadblocks before. And while they're demoralizing, We have reacted accordingly and overcome those roadblocks, and we will again in this situation. You know, like the roadblock both Rotarians and health professionals alike thought would be the hardest one to overcome, the elimination of the wild polio virus in India, with its 1.3 billion people, many of them living in slums in close quarters with each other. But we did it, with the last case occurring in January 2011. And the next largest hurdle was the African continent. After years of exhaustive work and persistence in the 47 countries that make up the African region, in August 2016, we were within weeks of the required 3 years. And all of a sudden, we have an outbreak of 4 cases in Nigeria. Talk about demoralizing. But we reacted with strategic plan and massive vaccination campaign. And as a result, there have been no new cases since then. And 2 months ago, on August 25th, the World Health Organization officially certified the African region free of the wild polio virus. Yes! And now we have one more summit to reach, perhaps the most difficult one of all due to political and religious strife, as well as geographic challenges. And you know what they are, the combined countries of Afghanistan and Pakistan, before we can declare the world free of the wild polio virus. But now some good news. The reintroductions of immunizations took place on July 20th, and of course under strict COVID-19 guidelines. And to give you an example of how well we're doing, on September 21st, Pakistan held a 4-day national immunization period, NID, actually more than 1 day, 4 days, with 270,000 polio workers going door to door, vaccinating over 39 million children. So with performance like that, we will win. But the truth is, we've got at the very least 3 more years to go, and most likely more, before we can claim victory over the polio virus. And you know, fighting polio is expensive. This year's budget alone is approximately $850 million to inoculate 400 million children. And for that reason, we have to continue to be the advocates and raise funds to vaccinate newborns and children missed in prior campaigns. You know, as Rotarians, a lot of our work is focused on our youth and the following generations, on the future inhabitants of our planet. And I can think of no other work we do for the next generations, to pay it forward, if you will, that is more important than our work in eliminating polio from the face of the earth. Although we as Rotarians will most likely not directly benefit from this work, our future generations and their children, and every child born thereafter, for as long as there are humans on this planet, will benefit from our selfless act of eliminating this virus from the face of the earth, from this planet, for mankind, forever. That, my friends, is paying it forward. That is service above self. That is, as past President Ian Risley said, making a difference. Thank you so much for my opportunity to tell you my story. I hope I've convinced you of the importance of our continuing role in this battle. So no longer will a mother have to go through that moment my mom went through, that moment when they're told their child has polio. Thank you and namaste.
Thank you, Bob. That was very inspirational. And now it is my pleasure that I introduce our keynote speaker for our foundation webinar from the Rotary Club of South Portland, Cape Elizabeth, Maine, in District 7780, our Rotary Foundation trustee for zones 26 and 27, Brenda Cressy. Brenda joined Rotary in 1989, Rotary Club of Paso Robles in District 5240, and served as district governor in 2001 and 2. She is retired as the CEO of Office Support Systems, a telecommunication business, and Brenda served in several key roles for Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation over the years, including serving as the first woman Rotary Foundation trustee chair for 2018-19 and will continue her 4-year trustee term through 2021. Most of Brenda's assignments have focused on successful fund development for the Rotary Foundation, especially in the areas of peace building and in polio eradication, her passions and missions in Rotary. She and her husband, Dick, are members of the prestigious Arch Clump Society, major donors, members of the Paul Harris Society, and the new Legacy Society, and have established the Brenda and Richard Cressy Endowment for Peace, supporting peace certificate fellowships. She is the recipient of the RI Service Above Self Award, the Rotary Foundation Citation for Meritorious Service, and the Rotary Foundation's highest recognition, the Distinguished Service Award. Brenda currently resides in Wells, Maine with her husband, Richard. They enjoy spending good times with their 3 grandchildren and family. Please join me in welcoming Brenda Cressy. You're muted.
Ready again?
Your mic is on.
Here I am. I'm here, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm bouncing between events today on this wonderful World Polio Day, I should say. Great pleasure to be here with all of you today, and thank you, Joe, for the invitation. We're here today. It's a new Rotary year, and one we certainly never thought we would have anticipated to be dealing with this pandemic. And I must say that I have the greatest respect for all of our club presidents this year, because more than likely this did not fit into your scenario for your Rotary year. So I thank you for doing what you do and what you're doing to keep connected and stay connected and keep your members connected and engaged in this new virtual world we're living in right now. And I want to thank you all especially, and to acknowledge each of you as we move into what we know will be several more months before we might get to what we might see as normal. And we all need each other, frankly, more than ever. So over these last few months, you had a chance to come together, and you've supported each other and have especially supported your communities. Little did you know that you could all adapt so quickly and be so flexible in this new virtual world, pretty much like most of Rotary and Rotaract clubs around the world. And together you did find that flexibility. You continued to lead, you continued to motivate and inspire each other. And that's not surprising to me, because that's Rotary. You found ways to remain in touch with each other, because fellowship in our organization is key to how we all serve. Members know the importance of engaging in service activities and whatever that might look like. There's a great job here done by all. These are the reasons, and for so many, that I'm so proud to be here and to recognize and thank each of you for all that you're doing in these unprecedented times. Rotary connects the world would take on a new and special meaning as it is today during COVID-19. Rotarians are connecting each day with each other, with longtime members who were no longer able to attend meetings and found great joy in joining a Zoom meeting for the very first time, and who once again could see the faces of their Rotary friends, and to also enjoy the fun and the goings on within our meetings. I remember one of our first Zoom meetings, we had one of our members bring an iPad to a longtime member, 50 years plus, with 50 years plus perfect attendance. He was in a nursing home. We brought the iPad in. It was his birthday, and we were all able to sing happy birthday to him. I can't even tell you how much this meant to him. So today, President Holger Knack, I just heard him on another event. His theme is Rotary Opens Opportunities. And wow, when you think about it, Rotarians and leaders have already found new and interesting ways to serve and to even enjoy these virtual meetings. But like you, I'm hopeful to return to in-person events sooner rather than later, because I don't know about you, but I need my Rotary hugs. Friends, when we think about this new Rotary environment we find ourselves in, I hope you will embrace your Rotaractors and interactors in your district. Embrace them as equal partners. Let's ensure that Rotary's future is more vibrant as we move forward. And yes, there's no doubt that today we do face challenges. The coronavirus pandemic, and of course, especially right here in the US, the waves of social unrest. People are pent up in their homes and their emotions are on edge. And we're experiencing change and want more because we're living and even surviving the test of change every single day. The fact is this: the world needs Rotary to help bring people together. The world needs Rotary to help the most vulnerable. The world needs Rotarians, and Rotarians need each other. And the world is connected by this common virus. And the world is watching Rotarians in their communities, not running away from the many needs, but like healthcare workers, we're not only meeting the needs, but we're taking swift action. So yes, I am so proud of the work Rotary members and the foundation are carrying out to stop the spread of COVID-19 and to help people affected. And for all of you to help those affected by the fires. The continuing and devastation there is astounding and so heartbreaking. So thank you for all that you're doing with this as well. We took action for the cause of public health and polio long before COVID-19. And because of our experience, we continue to make a difference. We're finding ways to apply our knowledge and experience in fighting another deadly disease. And we were able to quickly shift from our polio work to COVID-19 response. The polio eradication program is already using the advanced disease eradication infrastructure to protect the vulnerable from COVID-19, especially in our polio endemic countries. And of course, as soon as we are able, in fact, we have begun to establish our polio eradication initiative plans to resume our so-called normal polio immunization efforts. So about COVID, we're people of action, people who create lasting change, equipped by the resources of the foundation, and we can make a difference in thousands of communities throughout the world. Clubs and its members can use district grant funds to support local activities such as purchasing your protective medical gear for health workers, and Rotarians have already executed several global grants, turned around in record time, and of course we have our disaster response grants. The trustees are so proud of Rotarians around the globe, especially knowing that the foundation has invested over $20 million into COVID activities and projects to meet your community needs. This is extraordinary and totally unprecedented. And when you think about it, it was all made possible because of your generosity to the Rotary Foundation. But there's always more that we can do as people of action. When you think about it, each year our new leaders, from club presidents, their boards, their committee chairs, and its members, all leave powerful legacies since Rotary's founding, and that is part of our celebration today. As I mentioned earlier, all of those clubs and district leaders coming into office this year certainly looks a little bit different than what they thought they would be seeing when they attended Club President-elect's training. But I'm sure many of you want to ask what next year looks like, and even more than that, what Rotary's future will look like in a world that's dealing with COVID-19. Even more, what will Rotary look like in 5 or 10 years? So I wanted answers to those questions myself, and I'll share a few thoughts with you today. First, we must ask how COVID-19 might affect our global membership. Over the last week, our membership and research teams have looked closely at our historical Rotary membership and to estimate how we might be affected by the coronavirus, both in terms of membership and, for me, fundraising. And I can tell you that the results of the analysis gave me good reason for cautious optimism, because the most historic fall in our membership actually occurred during the Great Depression. Can you believe it? In 1932 and 3. That's when our membership almost fell by 10,000 members, a drop of 5.6%. However, in most recent times, our members have been able to weather the storms, the turbulent events that we have faced. For example, during the recession in 2008 and 9, our membership grew by 1%. So in the end, if we see a fall in membership between 2020 and 2024, let's say, we have a plan in place to ensure that we still have the resources to support our core mission, helping our members take action to create lasting change across the globe. This is our core mission. And as a matter of fact, new membership numbers already show our organization has grown by 18,000 Rotarians since the first of this Rotary year. Yay! I'm so excited about that. But you'll also be happy to know that thanks to the swift action by our directors and trustees, while our present position is financially sound, we're already cutting a lot of cost where necessary so that we can continue these amazing service projects that you do and will not be compromised by the crisis. Of course, there's no reason for complacency. Our finances and membership numbers are affected by more than the pandemic, and these are long-term challenges to address. Even COVID-19 were contained swiftly. So I think this issue is closely tied to how we execute our mission, because ultimately COVID-19 forces us to rethink in ways we connect and we serve. Think about involving Rotaractors as equal partners in your service projects. This is particularly important in this current crisis. Now is the time to invite Rotaractors to help shape our future. We also need to focus on membership retention. 60% of the people in our surveys thought that enhancing participant engagement was the most important priority. How do we do that during a pandemic? Many of you are. You're doing whatever you can, and I applaud you. It's so vital to engage our new members in those early years too, to ensure they find something valuable in Rotary to experience and to draw them into longer-term commitments. And we must not forget to include our outreach efforts to those clubs who may not even be meeting on Zoom or other platforms. Some of the things are going to change permanently as we move forward. It may be a new blend of online and in-person meetings. And of course, you have the flexibility to do this. But ultimately, at its best, Rotary is the crucible for grassroots change. Whether it be Polio Plus or global grants, it takes just one idea from one member to really make a difference. So today, I ask you to think about how you see Rotary and its future. In closing, I'd like to once again thank you all for joining us today. It's your extraordinary leadership and service that will bring us to a new world of Rotary service. I know you will accomplish great things, not alone, but together. However, to each of you, your Rotary service does not end today or tomorrow. You are just beginning your journey into that new world of Rotary service. Please take this incredible moment in time to work to help change the world. Together, let's all find a world where there is true peace and understanding, a polio-free world amongst all the people of the world. And to each of you today on this call, we need you. Please continue to be engaged, continue to be committed to Rotary service. Please continue to be committed to your Rotary Club and to this district. And finally, please remember this year, more than ever, it's important that your Rotary Foundation has your support of every single Rotarian, every single year, and every single club, every single year. It's your commitment to support the Rotary Foundation that ensures that our Rotary Foundation will remain well-positioned and ready to meet the high demands of our incredible life-changing projects. Many times, we are making it possible simply through a small donation, but we need your contributions every single year. The Rotary Foundation and the Annual Fund are truly the lifeblood of this organization, and without it, we could not be as well positioned to make a difference. Together, we are people of action. Together, we make lasting change. Thank you all so much. I hope to see you all in person one day soon. Stay well, stay safe, and be blessed. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you for taking time out of your very busy day to give us that motivating presentation.
Thank you,
Continue
Go.
to have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.
And now we'll have an update on District 5180. So let's cover a little bit of our contributions year to date. Polio Plus giving, now these are a little outdated because of all the fundraising that was going on yesterday. And so those numbers can be increased by about 3,000 with what Point West did yesterday with their putting for polio. So great effort there, and I know there's a lot more coming in. We're hoping to have at least $31,000 of matching that we can do for Polio Plus giving for the clubs this month. And the annual fund giving is just a little over 80,000, and as Brenda said, that's the lifeblood of Rotary. That's what comes back to us after 3 years and enables us to do all the good deeds that we do. And leading the way in our district, the 3 clubs with the highest giving, West Sac Centennial, $344. And closing fast is the Rotary Club of East Sacramento with $273. Behind them, North Sacramento, small but mighty club, doing great. So the Polio Plus Society we started also, we have about 100 members of those that have come so far to give a minimum of $100 a year until polio is eradicated. We're also lucky in getting these disaster response grants. And our first one came as the response to COVID. And we got a $25,000 grant, and Laguna Sunrise, Arden Arcade, and Roseville quickly stepped up, provided 11,800 meals to needy COVID families. And before that one was even closed, the fires in the North Quarter complex broke out up north, and we were lucky enough to get the number 329. Now notice that's a 329th disaster response grant, and that means $8.25 million. And when the Rotary clubs of Oroville and Gridley quickly stepped up, got gift cards to hand out with that money, and the merchants up there sold them the gift cards with no sales charge, gave a discount to the recipients, and even added some of their own money. We were able to give away $28,000 worth of gift cards. What a great community effort up in the north. And what a great response Rotary has given. And next we have total giving in our global grants. We've got over 27 going on right now in our district. We're a little over $2.25 million in cash from our own district Rotary clubs, a little over 390,000. 2 of our Rotary clubs are the international sponsors, and that's Sacramento and Carmichael, both water projects. And anomaly, a different type of global grant is the one that East Sacramento is heading up for our District 5180 Human Trafficking Global Grant. This is what we call a reverse global grant, where the international sponsor is actually overseas in the Philippine Islands, and most of the money, at least 30%, is coming in from overseas Rotary clubs to us here in Sacramento. And what a great effort that one was, $213,000. I'd like to see more of these reverse global grants. And next, our district grants. We have a total of just over, we've already covered this. Let's go on to the next one, please. District grants, we've had 26 planned for 26 Rotary clubs have planned on doing 46 district grants for a total of just under 180,000. And they're requesting about 90,000 in the DDF to match those. But COVID led to the completion of only 23 of those district grants. But the Rotary clubs quickly responded by adding another 15. And so we ended up matching about 81,000. Now that means that there's a mismatch of $9,000 of DDF that we'll have to return to the Rotary Foundation at the end of this year, or at the closing of the last year's district grant, which we're going to do any day now when we get the final cash checks receipts in. And we don't lose that money though. That goes back into our own bucket at the Rotary Foundation to come back to us next year as a global grant DDF. Next. So each year, Rotary requires some annual grant training to have clubs in the district certified. This year, we only had 22 of 37 Rotary clubs certified. Our goal for next year is to have 100% of our clubs certified and to have every club doing a district grant and either joining in with another club doing a global grant or chairing one on their own. Right now, Point West has stepped up and they've got 4 different global grants that they're working on. So that's fantastic. Now, Rotary International has just put on the Learning Center a grant training seminar, which I took yesterday and completed, and it's very good. And so that really takes the load off of us for next year when we won't have to be developing our own. And so our goal is to have everybody doing the grant training that's going to be involved in grants. And so I'm addressing that with our foundation committee next month, and the next 2, the existing district governor and the other 2 in line like that idea. And so that's our goal for next year. So we hope to have everybody certified. Next. Do you know anyone that wants a full ride scholarship to study abroad for up to 2 years for an advanced degree, meaning either a doctorate or a master's? Well, Rotary has the potential to do that. Next. There's 2 opportunities. We have both Global Grant Scholarships and Rotary Peace Fellowships. Next. The scholarships come in next. You can have up to 2, there's actually up to 2 or 4 years of training for these, and they have to be in one of the 7 areas of focus. They're adding a 7th area at the start of our next Rotary year, which is going to be supporting the environment. And so there has to be some payoff for Rotary in these. So follow on after they fund this education, there's got to be some payoff in that area of focus. One of our problems is that these scholarships are only open to non-Rotarians and non-relatives of Rotarians. So we really have to spread our net wide and find some quality applicants within our district. So we need to find quality applicants. We probably won't have any applicants for this next year, for this year, I mean, because this is a deadline of the end of this month But I want you to think ahead to next year, because next slide. We have 3 endowments that fund these scholarships. We just got that second one from the Marsala endowment that came out of the Folsom Rotary Club. With the other 2 already, we had $230,000 worth of money to spend on scholarships for this year alone. Next year, we're, as you can see, going to have even more. And so we need to look widely to find quality applicants for these scholarships, because we don't want to let these endowments and the objectives of these Rotarians that left these, we want to fulfill those obligations for them. So look at your previous college scholarships. Maybe we can find some of them that might be interested in next year and going overseas to do pursue their master's degree. Next. And then there's the Rotary Peace Fellowships. They come in 2 varieties. The first, a master's degree, is a 15 to 24 months program at one of those overseas universities. That includes a 2 to 3 month field study experience. And these are all expenses paid up to $75,000 by Rotary Foundation, not our district. Now, we had one candidate that won one of these last year. She was going to go to the Japanese university, and she had 22 months of first culture and language, and then university studies. But unfortunately, due to family problems, she had to drop out. We're hoping that she will qualify, be able to apply again next year. In the meantime, we had one applicant that we endorsed this year, and that was Micah Metz Houston. We are waiting to see that if he'll be selected next month in November. Now, applications for these and for the scholarships are in the District 5180 website, and for the Rotary Peace Fellowships, the applications for those will be online sometime in February of 21. So stay tuned for that, and those are the opportunities open to us. They also come in terms of the master's program had required 3 years of work experience. The certificate program is another online version, and it has a 10-week on-site course of field studies, a 1-week on-site capstone seminar, and they are at those 2 universities you see there in Thailand and Uganda. These require a 7-year work-related experience. So again, available in February of 21 for applications. More information on our website. Next. So this is our district foundation team. We're always looking for more members to join. If you want some more, get some more experience with the Rotary Foundation, and we're always welcome to speak at your Rotary clubs. So again, I want to thank you all for attending today on World Polio Day, and let's keep those contributions coming in to both Polio Plus and our Lifeblood, the annual fund. Thank you so much for joining us. Do we have any questions, Ray?
No, we do not. I don't see any questions at this time.
Great. Well, I thank everybody for participating. Thank you so much, Bob, Ken, and Brenda. And Ray for running back.